Howdy, this is Jim Rutt. The following is a continuation of my podcast with artificial intelligence researcher Ben Goertzel. Let's move on to another item closely related, which, at some level dealing with robotics is a pain in the ass, right? Stuff breaks, they fall over, they have to deal with holes in the ground, etc. However, when working with robotics, you get an amazingly detailed simulation for free, i.e. the universe. Could you talk a little bit about the intersection between AGI and robotics and what you think robotics brings or doesn't bring, or the mixed bag of things it brings?
I would have to add that programming is also a pain in the ass. So, we're just choosing between pick your poison, right? None of these things are not annoying once you really dig into them. Writing a simple Python script is one thing, but building OpenCog is not always that simple or entertaining either. There's a lot of kinds of pain in the ass, and it is true, the closer you get to the real world, maybe the more painful things become. But dealing with huge image corpuses and video corpuses is also there's a lot of butthurt there too, right? So anyone who's going to work on AGI in any aspect has got to have a very high pain tolerance. Otherwise, you'll do something that gives more immediate gratification and pays you more money quicker, right? But robotics, the main issue isn't that tinkering with robots is a pain. The issue is that the current robots don't so easily do what you want them to do for AGI. Like, what you want is a robot that can move around in the everyday human world freely, battery runs for at least like a day on end before you have to recharge it, is gathering, multi-sensory input, even if there's glare or dim light or background noise or something. Basically that's doing what a little kid does. It rambles around your house, it looks and hears and sees, it grabs stuff and manipulates it and picks it up and puts it down. You may not let him run up and down the stairs, and you may not be able to pick up everything as heavy as you can, but he's manipulating and perceiving and moving a lot, right? And right now, we don't quite have that toddler robot yet. If you put all the pieces together, if you put together Boston Dynamics movement with Hanson Robotics, emotion expression and human perception, with the arm eye-hand coordination of iCub and the fingertip sensitivity of SynTouch. If you put together all the robot bits and pieces that exist now in various robotics projects around the world, you would have that artificial toddler, but no one seems to be funded to do that. So we have all the pieces now, but no one has put together that toddler robot for AGI yet. And to do so would be expensive, right? And to do it cheaply is also probably possible, but then involves a lot of engineering R&D, which is going to take years. To do it expensively is going to cost you at least hundreds of thousands of dollars for the first toddler. And so that's what's really a pain, is that you're dealing with one or another robot that's very limited in what it can do, either in, manipulation or mobility or perception or battery life or something, right? And that's a bit ironic, because in theory, the robot should be much more flexible than AI in a virtual world. In practice, given the limitations of each robot, it's still limited what you can do with each robot. But I think, this is like years, not decades away from being resolved, since it's mostly a matter of integrating components that exist now and bring down the costs through scaling up manufacturing. So I think, within 3 to 8 years, let's say, robots are going to be a really useful tool for AGI, although that's only very weakly true right now. Of course, in principle, for AGI, you don't need a robot, right? In principle, you could get a superhuman supermind living on the internet. There's a load of sensors and actuators attached there. But if we want a human-like mind, for it to have a roughly human-like body is going to be pretty valuable, because so many aspects of the human mind, they're attuned to having a human-like body. That's what we are. And that's simple things, relatively simple things, like how we do eye-hand coordination by combining movement and perception and lower-level cognition, but also, little things like the narrative self and the quasi-illusion of free will and the relation between self and other. Like, all these things have to do with being agents controlling a body that feels pain and has an inside and an outside and so on. And when you eat and then you shit or you put something in your mouth, squish it and spit it out. All these things teach you something about the relation between yourself and the world and persistence of objects. And you'll get all those lessons in a different way if you're a distributed supermind whose mind and body are the internet. But how much are you going to understand human values, culture, and psychology that way? I don't know, right? So there's one question, which is how important is embodiment for getting a really smart AGI? The other question is how important is embodiment for getting an AGI that understands what humans are and empathizes with humans to a significant extent.
That's interesting. I had not thought of that particular additional benefit from doing the embodied cognition. Even if it wasn't necessary to get to AGI, it might make an AGI that's much more relatable to us and us to them.